Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IS English. In our today's video, we'll try to understand what is this process of special revision of voter rolls that is going to happen in the state of Assam. What makes this process unique? How is it different than the special intensive revision of voter roll which happened in Bihar, which is going to happen in many states now? So all of this we are going to understand in our today's video. Now, why are we discussing this topic? Have you ever thought about it? Let me tell you that. Now, the Election Commission of India recently announced holding of special revision of electoral rolls in the poll-bound state of Assam. Now, Assam is unlike every other state in India because Assam is in a very unique position. Now, if you can recall, few years back, there was a process called as National Register of Citizens, called as NRC, which happened in the state of Assam. But even till today, this process has not been completed yet. So as a result, the Assam state this year would witness special revision of electoral rolls. Now, what happens in special revision of electoral rolls? In detail, we'll discuss that. But to summarize, it is not likely to affect those who are already in the voter list. And it won't include any enumeration forms that you'd have to fill in cases of instances like special intensive revision, also called as SIR. So this is very similar yet very different from the process of SIR. So what is the similarity? What is the difference? Why is it happening in Assam? Everything we are going to find out. Now, this kind of a topic is very important from an exams perspective. Case in point, this question from 2017, where the question straight away came on what is right to vote and right to be elected in India. Which kind of a right is it? So to understand these kind of questions in detail, we need to have a broader overview of any topic that we are going to cover, just like we are going to do that today, right? Now, before we start our today's video, the notes that I will be using in this session, in case if you want to download them, they will be made available on a particular Telegram channel, ATS Live. If you have troubles locating it, you can scan the QR code, and while you're in the channel downloading the notes, please do not forget to subscribe to it also. Okay, so let us start by first understanding the different types of revision that happens of electoral rolls. But before that, let us get our basics right. Now, the responsibility of conducting revision of voter rolls, it is given to Election Commission of India by Article 324 of the Indian Constitution. If you read the text of Article 324, it says superintendence, direction, control of the preparation of electoral rolls, and in general conduct of elections of parliament elections or elections to state legislature. This is the exclusive responsibility of Election Commission of India. And there is a law which is the Representation of People's Act 1950, particularly its section 21 subsection 3. This gives ECI the power to conduct or direct a special revision of electoral rolls for any constituency in a manner which it might deem fit. So this section gives the responsibility or the power to Election Commission of India to conduct various different types of revisions of electoral roll. Now you might be thinking, what are these different types of revision of electoral rolls all about? Let me make it this clear to you all. Now you need to understand the registers for electoral rules 1960. It provides for various different types of revision of electoral rules. The basic revision, it is called as summary revisions, and this takes place every year and it is done by Election Commission of India. Now in this kind of an exercise, people who have gotten over and above the age of 18 years of age, they are included in the voter roll. Similarly, people who might have died due to any reason, their names are deleted from the electoral rolls, and this happens annually, and this is done by Election Commission of India. Similarly, whenever elections are about to happen, either for parliament or for state legislatures, the Election Commission of India ensures special summary revision, and this special summary revision happens before the election process. So these are two types of revisions that happens to the electoral roll by the Election Commission. These are summary revisions and special summary revisions. Now this is basically updation of the electoral rolls. You add certain names, you delete certain names. But when this process happens from the grounds up level, this process is called as intensive revision. And in intensive revision, the electoral roll is not just merely updated. It is prepared from the start, and in summary revision, the roll is amended. So this is the difference. In summary revision, rolls are amended. In special intensive revision, rolls are prepared from the grounds up. And this is what makes intensive revision or SIR different than summary revisions. And intensive revision was in news recently because it happened in the state of Bihar. Now it is happening in as many as 12 states of India. right? So these are different types of revisions that we have talked about. But you might be thinking, I told you about special revision of electoral rolls. So how is special revision of electoral rolls different than intensive revision? How is it different than summary revision? Let us find out. Okay. Now, the thing about special revision of electoral rolls, you need to understand its hierarchy. This process, special revision of electoral rolls, it is somewhat stricter than summary revision, but it is not as strict as compared to the special intensive revision. So this is somewhere in between. The least amount of strictness is with respect to summary revision, then comes special revision, and the strictest kind of electoral roll revision, it is called as special intensive revision. And this responsibility also falls to Election Commission of India under the same section 21 subsection 3 of the RP Act 1950. Now, what happens in this special revision process? In this process, house to house physical verification of voters, it happens, and this is done by block level officers, or booth level officers, BLO. Now in Assam, this verification window has been provided. This process would start from November the 22 and it would end on December the 20th across almost about 30,000 polling booths in Assam. Right? Now, how will this house to house verification process happen? First, the BLO, they provide or they print a register which would include all the existing voters in a particular household, and then the BLO would physically visit that household, meet the head of the family to confirm the presence of people whose names are already included in the voter list. They will also identify whether some person have shifted away from their houses to other areas. They would also confirm if there has been, for unforeseeable reason, deaths in the family, and accordingly they would update the voter list. Similarly, if there is someone who has now become eligible to vote just because they have crossed the line of 18 years of age, those persons would have to fill a Form 6. And in this new voter edition, they would require to furnish certain kind of documents which would link them to the existing family voters. Similarly, if there is a need for modification to the voter roll for any reason, they would have to fill Form 8, which makes modification such as address changes possible. Now, in order to ensure that no one is left out of this process, BLO just wouldn't visit the house for one time. If they find the house is locked for the first time, they would do as many as 3 visits in order to ensure everybody is covered. Now, what you have to understand that voters here, they do not have to fill any enumeration forms. Only the verification and correction would be done, and this would be done by the booth level officers only. They just have to physically verify whether those voters whose names are already included in the register are present or not in the houses. Now, in part of this process, there is also a process of parallel rationalizations of polling stations will happen. Now, ECI, that is Election Commission of India, it has given a direction. It has stated that we need to reduce maximum amount of voters per polling booth from existing 1500, and this would be reduced to 1200 voters per polling booth. So as a result, new polling stations will also be created, which is as much as 1826 polling stations. And this process would be done alongside the special revision process once they have the updated list. Now, what is the duration or the timeline of outputs? First of all, the draft report or the draft electoral roll for the first time will be published by Election Commission of India by December the 27th. And then people would be given an opportunity to file claims, objections, or even file representations with Election Commission of India, and this is permissible up till January 22nd, the year of 2026. And then after understanding or taking into account all the claims and objections, the final roll will be published by Election Commission of India by February the 10th. And this would mean then the state government or the Election Commission of India can publish state election notifications by the month of late February. Right? So these are the timelines of outputs that you can expect regarding this special revision process. Now, out of everything, what do you think is the objective? What is the purpose of this exercise? The purpose of this exercise is first of all to ensure that no eligible voter is left out of the electoral rolls. Second purpose is to prevent ineligible names to be enumerated in the electoral roll. Who are ineligible names? People who have died, people who have moved out of that residence to other parts of the country, those are ineligible names. And it is not intended to recheck or verify the citizenship document, unlike what happens in the process of SIR. That is why I told you special revision process that is happening in Assam, it is not as intensive or not as strict as compared to special intensive revision where your citizenship documents are also verified, right? Now, why is this process unique to the state of Assam? Have you ever thought about it? If there are 12 states where SIR is happening, if there is a Bihar where SIR has already happened, so why this SIR process is not happening in Assam? There is a very good reason behind it. First of all, you need to understand Assam is only state in India that has completed the enumeration of people who are included in National Register of Citizens, and due to this process Assam find out that there were as many as 19.6 lakh people who are eligible to be the citizens of Assam. But this process, even in 2025 as we speak, this process is not complete. Why this process is not complete? Because first of all, this process remains unnotified by the Registrar General of India, and because of this non-notification by Registrar General of India, people whose name has been excluded from NRC, they can't file or they can't appeal to the higher authority. So this appeal process has been paused just because this process remains unnotified, and therefore the process of NRC is yet to be completed in Assam. This began, it identified people, but the conclusion of this process has not happened. So as the conclusion of NRC has not happened, that is why SIR has not been started in Assam. Now what Assam government did, it did a very brilliant thing. It first of all held a party meeting which included members of all political parties in Assam, and everybody agreed to the fact that they need to postpone SIR. Why they need to postpone an SIR? Because NRC process is yet to be finalized, and this is expected to complete by August next year, and only after completion of NRC, then only the process of SIR would begin. Therefore, because of this incomplete NRC, to summarize, Assam will not undergo the process of SIR, and to compensate for this non-happening of SIR, the Election Commission of India has ordered for special revision of electoral roll, right? So this is the reason, that is why this unique process is happening in Assam. Now the biggest question, will the existing voters affect, or will the existing voters be affected from this process? The answer is no. You know why? Because people whose name are already included in the voter roll, their names are presumed to be ordinary residents of the state. So there is no need for re-verification of citizenship, or there is no need for these people to provide older documents to verify their citizenship. And there are people who have been evicted from their lands due to the land eviction drive that is happening in Assam. They can film Form 8 in order to verify their shift in address, even those people who are living in camps. But for important, you need to understand, if those people don't apply, it would risk complication, and there is also possibility that their names can be deleted. So for a normal person who's living in their household, they have no reasons to worry, because they don't have to provide any special documents to highlight their citizenship or their residences, right? Because their names are presumed to be considered as ordinary residents. Now, what about doubtful voters? There are about 94,277 doubtful voters in state of Assam, and these doubtful voters are not permitted to vote in election. Now these doubtful voters, they can file their appeals in the Foreigners Tribunal Assam, which is again unique to the state of Assam. Now what is going to happen in the special revision process, that the peoples whose name are under the D voters list, their names will be carried forward in the new electoral rolls, but the but the Election Commission won't be able to alter their status, because they would have to wait for the Foreigners Tribunal to conclude on this discussion. So what you need to understand, BLOs, they can neither add nor they can delete the names of D voters, and their names would be carried forward in the new electoral roll pending their verification, and only after their verification these people would be able to vote in Assam, right? Now, before solving the question that I showed you before the start of our today's discussion, and before solving the another practice question, I have a very important thing that I need to communicate to you. Now, this Communication is regards to the start of batches. Now our November batch has already started, and the admissions to this batch would close on 25th of November. You need to understand, in these P2I foundation batches, we teach everything that is important from UPSC's perspective, not just polity, the subject with which the article we were discussing was about, but also all the other important subjects like economy, history, etc., etc., right? Everything is covered. So for your GS, for your CSAT, you have to look nowhere else but to take admission here. But before taking the admission, just keep one thing in mind. If you apply the code called as ATS Live, you'll get discounts not just for 2027 batches, also for 2028 batches, and also for optional subjects, right? So choose accordingly, but ensure if you have to thrive, you have to use the code ATS Live, right? Now let us try to solve this question. Right to vote and right to be elected in India is what kind of a right? Prima facie, students would mark this as a constitutional right because it is given under Article 326 of the Constitution. But it is not a constitutional right. You know why? Because Article 326 of the Indian Constitution says any Indian citizen over and above 18 years of age, they are permitted to vote in India, irrespective of the fact that they are not disqualified by any law of the parliament. So it is the law of the parliament that determines whether you can vote or not vote in India, not just the Article 326. Therefore, making this right a legal right, not a constitutional right. Now, before ending this discussion, I also have a practice question which I want each and every one of you to solve. This practice question pertains to the discussion that we just had. You shouldn't have any difficulty in solving this question. Now, the ones who answer it correctly in the comment section, they'd get a thumbs up from my side, okay? And also, people from Assam, what do you think about this exercise? Is it actually good, or would you have wanted SIR to happen? And what do you think are the issues relating to NRC? Please let me know in the comment section, okay? And before ending the discussion, if you want to download the notes, these are available on the channel ATS Live. If you have troubles finding the channel, you can always scan the QR code. So I'll take your permission here. Please have a very good night. We'll see each other again tomorrow.